Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Let's call the meeting to order at 6:07 on Monday, August 3rd at 6:07 p.m. Okay, before we start, I just, not for the board, because the board understands it, but for anybody who is guests or public, I just want to remind everybody that even though we're not having a select board meeting in person, it is a legitimate one select board meeting. It is not a public meeting. It is not Facebook. It is not FaceTime. It's a meeting. And all the rules of procedure for the select board are still enforced. So if somebody wants to speak, they ask the chair. And if the chair wants them to speak, they can. So I just want to make sure that this is not, just because we're all not face to face, the rules still apply as they have done in the past. Okay? So we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of any discussion? If not, all in favor of adopting the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the next order of business, everybody have the minutes of July 20th. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented?
I've got two.
I already caught that one, and I have corrected it, but you probably need to correct it on record, and that is I had the vote wrong on the motion to not to include Suzanne's things in the minutes. So I had the vote wrong. I corrected that.
So do you want to do that again? Or are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. So I've got two other corrections then.
Okay.
Okay.
On third page, item 9, second bullet point down, talking about mask regulation issues. Very last sentence, he had talked to the tavern for Orson. I just think Orson should be more than, if somebody reads this in 10 years, maybe it ought to be Grafton Village Garage or Orson at Vet's Grafton Village Garage.
I agree.
Okay.
Orson is just sort of a,
Yep.
You're
right, Ken.
Last page, page 4, paragraph 16. Again, the very last sentence. It said Joe Polio people can have gathering following the state's regulations and orders. I'm not quite sure what Joe Polio people is.
I think it probably, Joe Polio said people can. No, I don't know what it means either.
It just says
Joe Polio, comma, people can have.
Comma?
Yeah, or quotes or
So
whatever.
he's making a statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I'll put a colon.
Okay.
Probably Joe Polio said and
Yeah,
have.
if it said Joe Polio said, that might be all right too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Bill,
Yeah.
can you turn the volume up a little? I have my volume up as high as it goes, and it's not very loud.
I don't control volume on you guys at all, but I'll turn it up.
That's
I
on
got it
your
all
own
the way up.
phone.
You're
Is that better?
You're coming fine with us, me anyway.
Is that better?
I don't know.
Okay.
Can you adjust the going out volume? I know you can adjust your own volume, but I don't know.
Ask
fixed
two
it.
ways to do your volume on your phone.
I got it. Yeah, I fixed it.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes?
Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Yes?
Thank you. I do have a suggestion regarding the minutes relative to number 10, coronavirus. And just to provide some context, I did go back and re-listen to this portion of the meeting. And the suggestion that I'm going to make comes directly from what I said. And so I would like to suggest to the select board that it read, Suzanne Welch presented an analysis comparing the library hosting to the VSO. And I would also like to suggest that the discussion that ensued was a discussion about the planning versus the execution of social gatherings. I think this recommended change maintains the spirit of the fact that the select board voted against including the analysis that I had done in the minutes, which I respect, but I would like for the language to reflect what I actually said to the extent possible, please. So that's my suggestion.
Okay, to the board, remember, we're the only ones who can correct the minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, the public can make a suggestion, but there are minutes, they're not public minutes, they're our minutes. So if we can change or agree or not agree
Right.
on minutes.
So I hope that I did provide a framework for suggesting to the select board that you change the minutes this way. And if I was not clear about that, that is my intention, to suggest.
Bill, did you get that? Or maybe Suzanne, you ought to get back to Bill. Well, we have to accept these.
It has to come from us.
Yeah, it has to come from the board. These are our minutes, and if
Right.
we agree, we can change them. If we don't agree, we leave them alone.
I just would also suggest, though, that according to what I read about the select board minutes, they do have to truly reflect what happened in the meeting. And since the suggestions I'm making are based on what I said and a review of the tape, I hope that weighs into your consideration of my suggestion.
I don't have any problem with the change.
Any other comments? I don't recall. I didn't listen to the recording, so I don't know whether or not, I'm not saying you're not right, but I don't know if that is accurate, if what was said is not.
Well, the word commentary means a treatise, and I think we all know that what I presented was a spreadsheet, which is easily characterized as an analysis.
So if the wording was something like Suzanne Welch presented a spreadsheet that referenced the planning effort of the library board, asked to have it included, select board do not include. I would indicate that you provided it and that the select board chose not to include it.
That's fine with me, Al.
Is that
Say that
okay?
again.
I'll make that motion.
I was trying not to use the word spreadsheet because that's what you agreed not to include in the minutes. But what I am suggesting is that another word needs to replace the word treatise, which more accurately reflects what I actually presented. That's what I'm suggesting.
So, Al,
I need the language that you want. This discussion, but I just need the language you want, please.
Alan,
Al.
can you say yours again?
Al, what was your language?
I would like the minutes to reflect that Suzanne Welch offered an analysis of the planning effort provided or done by the library board, and the select board voted not to include it.
Okay, wait 1 second. Okay. All right, I got it.
Thank you.
Is everybody okay with that with those changes?
Yeah, it's okay with me.
Don?
Long as we're not included in the spreadsheet.
Which we're not.
I voted no because this email originated from Al to Suzanne, which I had no knowledge of it whatsoever. And then it comes up at the select men's meeting. So I really didn't know anything about it, and I didn't think it should be included.
John, to be clear, I'm not arguing with your vote at all. All I'm asking for is accurate wording in the minutes.
So that's fine.
At the vote.
It's fine as long as the spreadsheet is not included in the minutes.
It's not.
It's
Oh,
not-
yeah.
Okay, so
I'm not asking for that.
if we are okay with that, then I need a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of accepting the amended minutes, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes accepted, as changed. Okay, the next thing is the warrants. They were all signed by everybody, I do believe.
Yeah, the agenda should say the 31st, July 31st, and I corrected it on the agenda that I have.
Okay, all right. The procedure for the select board meetings, you all have a copy, and I changed some stuff in red. Since this was adopted originally on February 19, 2018 by the select board, since we're changing them, we need, if you agree, we need to have a vote to amend them. If you don't, then we can change them.
I'm sorry, I got the wrong thing up. Just a second.
Yep.
I went through them. I don't have them in front of me right now.
Just
Well-
a second.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's no reason, if you agree with the changes, or you want to amend them, there'd be no reason to, even if the virus and we go back to normal, there's no reason why this can't stay in the event that there was another situation down the pike with another virus or some similar situation that would make us go back to virtual meetings.
Yeah, there's a second change on the last page.
Yeah. Since we can't remove a disorderly person from the meeting, but we can shut a disorderly person off. So that was the reason why I put that in there. So if everybody says, okay, make a motion. If not, then let's, change it or add to it or whatever you want to do with it.
I would make a motion that we correct our procedure to reflect the image we just saw on the screen.
Second,
Second.
do we have any other discussion? If not, a motion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we have a new one. Okay, the next one is a highway report. Danny, you're on for this one. Are you still there?
Yes, still here.
Okay.
What happened, Bill? You all went missing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, it's
Can
not
you see
this
the
week.
agenda?
no, nothing, just blank.
Okay, let me get rid of it.
It's a big, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
I don't have an agenda in front of me. I saw that the Route 35 and Stump Dump was on there before you.
That's it.
The two things are Route 35 and the a short discussion, just an update on what's happening with the old stump dump and A&R's citation. We can talk about that a second.
So Route 35, we just got the shoulders left to do on it and a little work in the turnarounds to do. Probably, it looks like the rain that's coming is going to be a little tonight, and then there's a break until about 10, 11 tomorrow morning. I'm going to go over with a grader tomorrow morning and pull some of the shoulder material up just so we don't get washes along the edge of the road. So that's what's on the 35. We Ivor had told us that if we would like, he would let us use his tractor. He has a sweeper that goes on the back of it. I'm assuming it means rent. So we might do that when we go to finish up the areas that there's not enough material there to get that done. And I still do have that patch on Chester Hill to get done. I haven't got that done yet. I had a taxpayer landowner on Parker Hill call me up on the very end at the old Wyman farm. They got rid of the old house and they're going to put a new house in, but there's an old stone wall that runs along the edge of the road that he's going to rebuild. And he wanted to know if it was all right to do that or if he had to do something with town. I went and met with him Sunday, and I don't see a problem with it. It is in the right of way, but so isn't the existing one. And what he's doing is still making it better. And the only one it's going to affect is he is the last one on that road. But like I say, it's still within 2 feet of where the existing wall is, and he got rid of one of the driveways. There's like a horseshoe driveway up there. He got rid of one of them, and he just wants to make the wall and make it look a little bit nicer up there. I told him I didn't have a problem with it, but I had to run it by you guys.
You said it's 2 feet. Is it 2 feet closer or 2 feet farther away?
It's 2 feet closer to the road, which still is about 8 feet away from the edge of the road, but it still is in the right of way. The reason he's doing that, there's a maple tree there that he's actually going to remove to keep the wall back as much as possible. The wall that's there was actually taken over into the road anyways. So I don't see it being a problem.
If Danny doesn't see it being a problem, I would support his decision.
I agree.
So last week, I guess at the end of the week, I got the paperwork from Kim when I dropped off the papers to the office about the stump dump and A&R. I thought that permit was all over with. That wasn't even on the books anymore. The only things we dump up there is stumps along the side of the road that we dig out in our own town use stuff. You know, we've always dumped it to the further left-hand side of the swamp down back to keep it away from the water. I have not read into that paperwork that much yet. I don't know if you have, Bill, or not.
Yeah, I looked at it. He took a picture in such a way that looks like you're dumping in the water. The water's about 100 yards away.
Right.
I mean, he took it over it, looking at the water that's out there, and it's really the pond before you even get to the creek. It's down on the other side of the gravel. I walked that whole thing. No,
Yeah.
so, but I wrote an email to him. I said that when you got back from vacation, you were out last week, that you and I would meet with him and walk the property. I also said, you know, if you guys are going to inspect something, tell us you're going to inspect something.
Who
So we can explain it to you.
Who inspected it?
Eric something, ARIC is his first name, from I don't know if they're the state, but I don't. A DEC from the state, but I don't know that. I can look it really quick.
No, that's all right. I just wondered where it was. The state's fine.
I just soon have them come down so we're clear on it, because there's paperwork from the selectmen years ago saying that is not wetlands, and they wrote a whole thing up on it explaining to me that it wasn't wetlands because I disagreed with it. But if he wants to come down and meet, so we're clear, because we don't need to have any violations. But we dump to the left-hand side of that so that we're not in the water.
Yeah, a long way away from the water.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think if you just meet somebody there and explain it before we get into the weeds with the thing, that's what I would do.
Yes.
Right.
Danny,
Yeah.
I agree with your approach, but I would want some clarification of stump dump. when it's used by the town solely by the highway crew, does that constitute a stump dump? Or is a stump dump when it's available to the public?
I don't believe the state of Vermont has anything that is actually considered stump dump. You can put, last I knew, unless they've changed the rules, you can put stumps anywhere you want as long as they're not in wetlands. So there is no designated area in the state of Vermont classified as a stump dump. It's not. They've always called this the stump dump, which I don't know why, because it's dirt and stuff. It's just a place that we put stuff. I just soon meet with a guy so that we know what the state's expecting of us.
Well, the reason I bring up the question is, I seem to remember the decision being made back when I was on the board the first time. We closed the stump dump. So it's getting down to definitions. But as far as the town, I think there's documentation we can show them. This is not available to the general public. This is only used by the road crew.
I don't think it matters.
Maybe
It's still dumping material.
Right. But maybe splitting hairs, you know, I don't know. Just,
Look,
I remember that.
I think that the true way to do it, Danny, is you need to meet with him and explain to him what we're doing. And if you have proof that it's not a wetland and all that kind of stuff, show it to him and tell him that this is what we use it for, and maybe we don't have to have a permit anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And see what he has to say.
Yep.
I mean, it's silly to me to spend a lot of time on this when we don't use it as a stump dump. It's a dump to put whatever materials that you collect from the highways.
Correct.
Bill, have you looked at the Vermont Atlas map for that area where they show wetlands?
Yeah, I have.
And
It's further away.
okay,
Okay,
It's
and-
close,
That's
but
And I
figured.
can find no select board minutes. We looked and looked that talked about discontinuing it, but in 2015, during I think it stopped at the fall of 2014 because we funded the keeper and the stump dump for 2014 the year ending in 2014. In 2015, no, 2014-15, that it was funded. 2015-16, it was not funded. But I think maybe they simply decided to do it and then took it out of the budget. There was no motion I could find, none.
Well, I'm not surprised, but I remember the
Remember.
discussion.
I
Yeah,
remember being stop used.
right.
Well, Danny, why don't you just meet with him and let's see what he has to say. We can deal with it at the next meeting or whatever, okay?
Yep.
Ready? All right. You have anything else, Danny?
No, nope.
Anybody
If
has?
you wanna-
anything? Danny?
I just want to talk a minute then. Both Danny and I agree. We haven't talked before, but his opinion of the storm coming in and mine are the same, and that is it's not going to rain that much. My only concern, Danny, is that you put something on the other side of that culvert on Bell Road. If that drainage happens to get a lot, I'm asking you. If that culvert goes, would you like to have something on the other side? Because if that drainage happens to get more than the rest of it, there will be a problem.
All our material is going to be on the town garage side, so I want my equipment
Okay.
where the material is.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Okay.
Yeah, the last time when Irene hit, we were at the old garage and we had to wait to try to get to the material. So I'd rather have the material there and work our way down.
Okay, good.
I mean, it's hard to say until the storm really hits. I hope this one isn't going to be nothing, but no one knows.
Yeah.
Hey, Danny, what about that one washout? What was that? You got cones around it. Was that on Stagecoach Road?
That's a culvert that's going to get replaced.
Yes, it is on Stagecoach.
Yeah, it's on tape.
Is there anything that could be done with that temporarily in case that does wash out because it's already partially gone? Or
I don't believe it changed. It's where the end of the culvert, it's a steel culvert, and it looked like it was added onto, and the ends slid off from it. But that, we got everything at the shop to replace that culvert.
Bill, were you able to talk to Mike about the culvert on 35?
I did, and Danny, did Mike talk to you about, somebody complained about that bump getting worse. Did the guys do anything about it today?
Danny
You
fixed
know.
it today.
They didn't tell me anything.
I went over there today and it's perfectly fine. So somebody put some material in there.
Then they went up there. They told me about noon. Was it
Yeah.
Kim? About
It
noon,
was
they told us.
sometime this morning, we had a phone call
On 30,
Yeah.
right on Chester Hill?
right on Chester Hill.
Yeah, they probably just went up. They didn't let me know.
Yeah,
I talked to them on the radio and they said they were going right there.
yeah, I went
They
through
probably
there.
did it.
I went through there on Sunday and it was a little rough. And I went there this after for lunchtime to run over to Chester and it was fixed. So somebody
Okay.
took care of it.
They got it then. Okay.
Anything else of Danny? Okay, if not, let's move on to the planning commission. The village, I had a chance to talk to the three businesses in town, the Wyndham Foundation, MKT, and the church, if you want to consider that as a business. All of them said that they would like to see it. Most of them said that they probably can't use any or most of it because they are nonprofits. June said that she probably had no intention of doing anything. But I guess the church said that if we have it, then it's easy for them to get grants. So I put it on the agenda in the event that if there's no issue with it, then let us tell the planning commission to proceed with their paperwork, have the public hearing, and then if everything it goes okay with the public hearing or whatever, then the board can then decide whether they want to approve it or not. And why waste time?
Yeah, I agree. I think we ought to move forward with it. I don't think there may be situations where people may not use it, but I don't see where it can hurt to have it either.
Yeah, I don't see where there's any negative, quite frankly. It's a lot of work for the planning commission. I don't think it's going to be used, but it's there, and then maybe someday somebody will find something that's useful for it.
I make a motion that we advise the planning commission to move forward contingent of a public meeting and the support of the public.
I'll second that.
Okay, wait 1 second then. So to have a public meeting and then go forward if the public supports it.
Well, they would have to bring it to us, correct? And then we would have to approve it, correct?
Well, you have to apply.
Yes, but I
You
mean,
have to.
right, but they would have to have a public hearing, and then if there was no opposition and everything was okay, then they would come to us, and then we would go forward to approve it, correct?
Yes, you have to apply. They
Right.
don't apply.
No, we would have to apply and do it.
You're just telling them that you're probably, as far as you're concerned, is fine, as long as if the public doesn't disagree.
Exactly. If the public doesn't like it, then that's a different story.
Right.
Okay. Any other discussion on Al's motion? If not, everybody say aye in favor,
All right.
Aye.
opposed?
I don't have wait a minute, I don't have a second.
Stan, I seconded it, I
I
think.
second.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Alan made it.
Okay.
And it's unanimous, so that's on the vote. Okay, the other item under there, you got the paper that I had sent. If you remember now, at the last meeting, Dave Colbert made some noise about, well, if you want to change the map, let us know. So Al and I met, and on page 9, where it says critical resource area, we would leave no development occurs in critical resource areas, but we take out all the pink, which has all the state parks and other areas. But the language could remain, just change the map so that there is no pink.
Joe,
Yeah,
I
Wait,
think
wait one second.
think we were-
Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second, please.
if I misunderstood that, Alan, let me know.
Yeah, I want to speak when I get a chance.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
can you, no, you can speak. I just wanted to get it up. Can everybody see that now?
Yep,
Okay. All right.
I don't remember seeing that.
That's not quite what we said, Joe. We
okay,
were going to ask to have the pink removed from state land, from the wildlife management areas and the village park. The pink that is along the drainages of those streams would remain.
okay,
So it was just really changing the classification of the state lands to what it should be.
okay,
And the change in the village park would coincide with what they told us when we've gone to them and they said, no, we could go and proceed with, because it all hinges on the thing that there's a terminology of no development. And when asked what development means, well, anything's development. So that's the problem.
okay. Does everybody understand that now? Because I had it wrong.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, then the second one, Al, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
And then I was supposed to do some wording on forestry.
yes, and Al wanted to add it in chapter 2 as a bullet point and deal with invasive trees and plants and various other things that was not in the original plan.
Well, the other part was we wanted to delete those last words on the definition, which is what's up there, right?
Yeah, but
Well, on resource lands, as you're talking about now?
yes, you would remove,
Yeah.
but future development be weighed against, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That part of the sentence. That's correct.
Does anybody want to look at the map?
I haven't
Well, it's
seen
gonna
any of this. Maybe I missed it, but this whole thing is kind of new to me. I might have.
Okay, but let me explain procedure before we spend a whole lot of time on deciding what you want to do. This recommendation goes to the planning commission. They have to have a public hearing. It comes back and approve it or not, or whatever they do with it. The whole town plan's got to come back to you for another public hearing and your approval. So it isn't like this is the hearing on it. This is just a discussion on to answer Dave Culver's request that you tell him what you would like.
Right, all this is, and if you agree or don't, if you don't agree with it, then let's change the request so that it fully represents the select board's desire, and then they do what they want to do with it. We can't tell them what to do with it. But I just remind everybody that I know we had the virus, but the town plan was approved back in January, and nothing has happened with anything. And this was just a way of maybe they would then be able to act on some of the changes, or at least look at them anyway. So if we all agree, then we can send it on. If we don't agree, then we don't send it, or we change whatever it is.
Well, there's a little bit more then. If we're going to continue the discussion, Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I sent to all of you about a page worth of my writing. It really is not. It's not a plug and play thing where take out words that are current there and put in some new wording. So it's more a concept or an idea and the justification behind it for the forestry. They're going to have to work on that. But you should have all had a copy of it and a chance to read what my thoughts on forestry are. The knotweed, all the invasives that like we're dealing with at the village park, like I have on my property, and I bet a lot of other people have if they know what they're looking at. If you traveled up and down the interstate between Bellows Falls and Brattleboro this late May and June, there was just constant white flowers. That's all an invasive multiflora rose. If you're in the forestry community, invasives are a huge conversation, and the management of them, we should be putting it on people's radar that don't classify this piece of land as if it's a unique habitat when there are problems there that need attention by landowners and care, stewardship. So that I would like to pass that along to the planning commission, and they can read it and go through the process of incorporating something to support that concept.
Can I just add my thought?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
I
what we're doing.
think Al's making an excellent point. His compassion, his history of knowledge of what he does, forestry, should be part of the plan in terms of, it could be a bullet point, it needs to be said. And I thank you, Al, for writing that, because it's important.
Well, if the board so desires, we could send the corrected bulletproof one, the point number 1 and number 2, and then add a statement and send Al's email to the planning commission and ask them to incorporate this in the modified plan when the time comes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
And Stan, if you're feeling out in the dark or not comfortable with this, vote against it. You know, we could send it to the planning commission and say these things were supported by the board 4-1 or 3-2, whatever it is, and at least they know what we're thinking.
No, I don't want to vote against it. I was just going to abstain. I just wasn't. I don't remember seeing it. So I'm not for it. I'm not against it. I just haven't had time to review it.
You want to see the map? Maybe would that help you, Stan?
No, I don't think so. No, let's just go with, I'm just going to abstain, and that way it doesn't change anything one way or another. And I did read Alan's letter. So.
Right, and I do agree with Alan. You know, Alan and I talked last year, and Alan pointed out invasives, and I'm a one-man band to eliminate all my invasive plants that are on my property, and it's a huge job to try to do that. But I don't, you know, I think it's very important for the environment to have these plants destroyed, quite frankly.
That multiflora rose, once it gets established, you can't walk through the woods after that takes over. All those prickers and stuff on it it'll just stop you.
Yeah. So if everybody agrees, then you have a motion. If not, then we'll just pass it on. So it's up to you. But we do need a motion to send the 3 points over to the planning commission for their not review, but for their, so that they can, I don't know the correct language, but they asked for help, and this is where we're thinking if we so vote for it, and then they can do what they want to do with it. We have no pull or anything that we can tell them what they should or shouldn't do.
I make a motion that we forward this material to the planning commission.
Second it.
Consideration.
Okay, we have a second, but we have to change, Bill, we have to change the critical resource area that about the pink. So that language needs to be changed before we send them.
Yeah. All state parks, the village park, and all state parks, the village park. Oh, and wild wilderness areas.
No,
I got that.
wildlife management area.
Wildlife management. Wait a minute, let me go back.
Which
Wildlife
is what
Yeah, I have
Turner
that.
Hill is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the way it is currently in our plan, the work that has been done at Turner Hill is illegal.
Right, and this would fix that problem. All right, so do we have any other discussion? If not, all in favor of Al's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained?
I abstain.
All right, so correct, it's 4-1, one abstention. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. All righty, next thing is, Kim, do you have anything on clerk and treasurer report? Are you here, Kim?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Right now, like I said at the beginning of the meeting before we started, we still don't have a tax rate yet. The letter that PBR or the email sent to Nancy, and I was CC'd on it, is that they are anticipating another batch by the first week of August and still hoping that that is this week. If that is the case, I'm out of the office on Thursday and Friday of this week. So if we should get the tax rate by the end of this week, maybe we can start on the tax bills Monday. Tuesday is primary, so I won't be available Tuesday or Wednesday, but as long as I get them out by Friday, we'll still be on track for a September 15th first quarter payment. Right now the accounts are looking, okay. We're still good. I know looking at the balance sheet, there is a negative in the total fund balance just for this year, but overall we have enough in reserve that we're still carrying a great balance in our checking account. So even though we're a little behind on our first quarter payment, we're still doing okay. I'm not worried about it. Just a reminder that next Tuesday is the primaries, and it is at the fire station. Again, polls will be open from 9 in the morning to 7 at night. I'm hoping to see all of my BCA there for counting. I know this isn't the BCA meeting, but it is 5 of the BCA board members. 7 o'clock sharp. We're having an extremely large turnout for absentees. We're already up to 150 absentee ballot voted already. So, and I think that's overall in the state. They've explained that sending out those postcards, our absentees are just like really high. So there will be quite a bit of counting to do that Tuesday night. So we're probably not going to just get out of there within 45 minutes. You plan on being there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, Tuesday, the 11th is the planning commission meeting,
Right.
and John Bennett is supposed to be there, and that's when we were supposed to have a first meeting with him.
I don't know what to tell you, but I know this is pretty critical of the counting the ballots. Like I said, there's going to be a lot to count. I wished he had checked, or someone on the planning commission had checked to realize that that's a pretty important date.
I will,
I can put you down that you won't be there.
I will be there, Kim. Don't worry about me. I'll be there.
Okay. So who doesn't plan on being there and plans on going to the planning commission? Because I need I need time to prep. Like I said, I'm not in the office. I had planned it a while ago on Thursday and Friday, so that doesn't give me much time to look for anybody else. So if people could just speak up sooner rather than later, then I can plan accordingly.
If it rains, I'll be there.
Rain or shine, right, John? We're going to see you there at 7
No, John, you mean if it snows, you won't be there.
No.
I'll be there.
I would like to be there, but it seems like if we're sending this document to the planning commission, somebody from the select board should be there for attending.
What time's their meeting?
6 p.m.
Should we check and see if maybe they can cancel it and have it a different day?
Well, they have to warn
So
it.
that's another option.
So Kathy, are you going to be at the county, or are you going to be at the planning commission?
I was hoping to go to the planning commission.
Right, so that of the BCA, Kim, I see there's only 3 of us, Stan, myself, and John.
And I've only got 4 of the JPs because we're down in JP, so that only gives me.
What about Bill? Can Bill count?
Yeah, Marianne and I will be there.
They're already signed up for counting. But I'll work on it tomorrow.
Can you talk to Dave and explain the situation?
The problem is he's been planning this meeting for months. So.
Yeah.
I understand that.
The primaries have been out there for years.
I know. Oh, I know.
It's the second
I know,
Tuesday
Kim. I know,
in
Kim.
August.
I'm not saying there's an excuse for it. I'm just saying that he's been doing it for months. So I don't know that he can postpone it.
But I mean, the BCA does have an obligation to be there. I understand, but
Yeah, and I'll work on it tomorrow. What else I can do for counting and pairing up and stuff. It would just take a little longer. That's all. We may be fine. So it's hard to tell.
okay.
But I think that's all. You guys had no questions otherwise on the budget or anything of the sort.
No, not for me.
I am looking into, I haven't done too much yet, but I started about trying to apply for the grant for digitization of our land records. So I'm in the process. I have a call out to co-file. I filled out a survey, and I'm hoping for an estimate as to the cost of what it would cost us to digitize our records so that if another COVID or any type of incident happens again, and our office is closed, researchers can still retrieve land records online, and we can still get the payment for them. So trying to bring us up to the modern times, but it is an expense and it's expensive. So hopefully this grant that's available right now, I have to implement it and get it started before November 1st in order to be eligible for the grant. So I'm moving kind of quickly on that. That's it.
Anything else of Kim? And if Alan and Kathy change your mind, let Kim know, so she.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what you want to do, okay? All right, the next item is the town health officer. So Rich, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so what do you have?
I'm not too sure why it was on the agenda. So if there's something specific, please let me know.
I think that,
the only. Yep.
I think just a report on CIC if there's anything new, but I don't know of anything new. So.
Nothing really new. I know I've been talking with people and things are moving forward with that as far as hopefully there'll be entering the mitigation plan before too awfully long. But we're not quite there yet, but we are rapidly getting there. It's actually moving forward just a little bit. And I hear that the fire alarm and the fire suppression system will be hooked up in the next couple of weeks. I've been hearing that. So that's I think that's about all I have.
Hey, Bill, I read that report today and I see no mention of CIC in it.
I was going to say the same thing, John.
3992.
It's interesting because I have more history on that building than probably anybody does. And to read that report, it makes me laugh a little bit.
Yeah. Was in classes all day, so I hadn't had a chance to really look at it yet, but I was going to try to go through that this evening.
But CICs should be mentioned somewhere in that report.
Yeah, we talked about that already. And I noticed that today too when I read it. It goes from Unified right into John, what's his name?
Well, so Samantha Snow, the attorney, is going to be here to do the deed search, and she'll probably find that tomorrow. Because she knows about it. And I mentioned to her, I think last time, John, you mentioned that to a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned that to her. I think that's one of the reasons she wants to do a deed search.
I think the owner of CIC still lives in Putney, something like that. He's still around.
Did anything else stick out at you guys?
I only read like the first 2 pages, so I can't really tell you.
All right. Very good.
Okay, can we move on?
Thank you.
Okay. Town hall maintenance.
No, you missed porta potty.
Well, how come it's not on my latest agenda then?
Well, porta potty on mine is on 11.
No,
we talked about that this morning. It wasn't on it.
Well,
I cover it under coronavirus.
Well, I printed the latest one I thought out, and I don't understand why it's not on there.
Well, it's the only one it's the last one I sent out. So
yeah, and that's the one I printed, but obviously it's not the one. So okay, so it's the porta potty then, I guess.
And not to interrupt, but is that under the? I can offer some information on some of the. If you have anything you want from me on that, I'll hang on.
Well, Stan, you're the one who asked something else. Why don't you explain?
Yeah, well, about a week ago or so, I don't know the exact time frame, but there was a thought about having a porta potty available for the town. There is some behind the brush urinations, I guess, going on and other things in town that I guess other people have seen. And my point is, I really think we should have something. So the thought process is because the see, I forgot. What's Don Dougal on?
CIA.
Yeah,
the Improvement Association. See, that just blew right in my head. The Improvement Association used to fund 2 porta potties, one out by the pool and the other one down by Winnie Park. And they're only doing 1 now. So they thought maybe if they wanted to do the second one, that would be part of their project. But apparently at this point, they're not willing to do that. So I'd like to bring up to the town, to the select board, I think it's a really important aspect that rather than have people going in back of houses or whatever, I mean, there are no public restrooms available in this whole town. And it seems as though during normal times, we kind of like to have visitors here. Now, all of a sudden, it becomes kind of inconvenient because of the coronavirus. Now we don't want people here. But we're certainly not going to advertise we got this pretty porta potty stuff alongside the town hall or wherever it might go. I don't think the porta potty is going to bring in additional flow of people. Those people are already here. So I think we should have an opportunity or a place if somebody really has an emergency to go. So I really think that the town should support some sort of probably a handicap available porta potty for the public that come into town.
Where do you think
I
put
agree.
it?
But how
Where
do
do you
you
think you
maintain,
put it?
how do you maintain the guidance of cleaning it after each individual though? Because I'm supposed to maintain and clean the public bathroom if public should use it after each use.
I can weigh on that a little bit if you'd like.
Yes.
It goes by the numbers, what the state is saying. So in other words, I mean, if you have, I would have to look up the numbers. I don't know them right off the top of my head. But say if you have more than like 30 people use it, then it has to be cleaned once a week. If you have more than X amount of people using it, every other day sort of thing. The state is actually encouraging the use of these now, because like the rest areas and so on, you know, they're all closed down, so they have actually put them in. And I agree with Stan that the tourists are going to be here anyhow. They're coming to the store, they're not using, you know, they're not letting them use it. They've been sending them down to the library. The library's been sending them to the town hall. So by the time people walk around the center, yeah, they have to go to the bathroom. You can arrange with Best Septic or any of them that you want. Like Best Septic, for instance, they're in town on Monday, so they would clean it once a week. And again, the Department of Health and the ACCD, they are encouraging the use of these things. So it's totally within your right to get one.
I would certainly suggest that, you know, I don't know if any company would come out and do it twice a week. We don't know what
I have information on that.
They would if you want to pay them.
Well,
this is the cost. This is the cost. Best, where is it? Not everybody has them. Okay, but for instance, Area doesn't, but Best will do it at 190, which is cleaned once a week on Mondays. If you want it cleaned another time, it's $50 each time you want it cleaned. HB 100. This is for
a month. 190 a month.
190 a month for the handicap access porta potty. It's the same ones that they have at. It's like the ones they have at the visitor center in Bennington. And then, but HB $199, but they only clean once a week and do not have any. They don't have any way to clean more than that. That's all they will do.
Apparently the regular one, like the one that's down in Winnie Park, is $90 a month. But I really think, so I don't know if the excess is because it's handicap, but the Improvement Association is currently paying $90 a month, and it's cleaned once a week. So that's a big difference. I don't know, is one for, because I think we do have to do handicap, but it doesn't seem as though it would increase it that much.
Both of them were about the same.
Okay.
And Area doesn't do it, and there's a guy over in New Hampshire, AFA or something like that, and he doesn't have handicap.
Okay.
Well, I had to leave for a minute. How did we get around the cleaning thing?
But Rich just explained that as long as they clean once a week, that's the ACCD standard.
That's okay.
It's not in an office building. It's different.
Okay.
It's different at a golf course too, because we can't have them over there.
What do you guys do?
May I ask a question, please?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chair, the question I have is about did I hear correctly that the GIA had been approached to provide a porta potty in town? And if so, what was their response to that request? Maybe you said that, Stan, and I just missed it.
I refused.
I did. They were approached only because they had supplied two in the past, one down in Winnie Park and one out by the pool. Right now, they're only doing the one at Winnie Park. So the thought was that they were always funding two, maybe they would continue to fund the second one, but it would be for the use, in the village somewhere. And at this point, they refused to do it.
Did they say why they refused?
Not really. I don't want to go on air and saying why they may not want it.
Could I weigh in here? Could I weigh in here a little bit?
It was just a majority of the people on the planning on the Improvement Association did not feel it was necessary.
Who wants to weigh in here?
Nancy?
Oh, hi, Nancy.
Hi. Could I
Yeah,
make a
go ahead.
comment?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm a member of the GIA, and we were polled about it, and there were various reasons. My one thought, as far as how I feel about it, I'm speaking for myself, not the GIA, but is that the one at Winnie Park is limited at time. I think in October, November, we pull it out. And that's the extent of our obligation. I don't know if you're looking for a long-term solution here or short-term or what. And I had thought, and I may be wrong about this, that they just do a once-a-month cleaning with us. But then Stan, I think Pat said that they do once a week, so I'm a little confused about that. But I think that a long-term solution would be more apt to, should come from the town rather than the GIA. I voiced the opinion that I'd be happy to do a 3 to 4 month. I don't know how other people do a 3 to 4 months.
It is once a week.
Nancy, I think it is, the cleaning is once a week, not once a month.
Good.
And I think the duration, at least the way I would look at it right now, the duration is for the extent of the COVID period. Certainly, hopefully we wouldn't go through the winter with it, but who's to say what the extent of what the COVID is going to be.
Right.
So my point would be is that the duration of it is the continuing duration of the COVID period.
Right. So, well, one other comment then is that the GIA hasn't talked about supplying it at Winnie Park any further than the time that we had already decided to do that, which is usually we pull them out before winter, certainly. And I can't speak for anybody else, but I know that's been some reasoning behind it.
Well, but I think the greater question is, and I kind of agree with Stan, since every bathroom in town is closed, and we do have tourists, and we have people who come here, and if they're sneaking behind cars and trees to use facilities that don't exist, then maybe the town has some obligation to put a porta potty in. And I think that's the question. Do we? And if we do, then if everybody agrees, then I think it's an expense we have to incur. And whether or not we can apply for a grant on some of the federal stimulus money, I don't know.
Yeah, you could probably apply for the COVID expenses.
But that's what I mean. But
Yeah.
but I think the real question here is, do we have an obligation, or should we provide a means for somebody to use a bathroom here when they come? And I, quite frankly, I don't do a lot of traveling. I stay very close by, but I had 2 occasions that I had to leave Vermont, and it's very difficult to find a bathroom, quite frankly.
The concept's good, but tell me where it's going to go, because I think
Can I
we
give
can
you?
approve it. We still got to find a place to locate it.
Okay, there are 3 places that possible. The town hall, right where I park my truck, maybe, so it's visible. I can park elsewhere. The pump park. And the third possibility is at MKT behind the tables. June said that would be okay.
Well,
But
that seems like,
but there we'd have to put a sign making it really clear it's a public restroom.
if she's willing to host it, that's probably one of the prime traffic places. That would certainly seem logical place if she's okay with it. I would think that's where most of your tourists go.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have a problem going there. I wasn't aware of her
Offer.
accepting that.
Yeah, Chris Wallace was in and talked to me. He went down and talked to her and came back and told me that she'd be willing to put it there. I did not talk to her about putting up a big sign saying it's a public restroom. I mean, that, as long as she's fine with that, I don't want it to be there and everybody think it's just for the customers.
I would make a motion that we do that contingent on the approval. Her approval,
And the town is gonna pay the cost, Alan, is that in the motion?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can
May I
I
ask-
ask one question? I agree with Alan, but I don't want to make it stipulated on only it can go by the store, down by the MKT. I think that's a great place for it. But if for some reason, if she doesn't like the sign or they have a change of thought, I still think we need one. And I think Plan B would be next to the town hall where Bill parks his truck.
Can we instead go down to the Wilson Park across from the library rather than where we park our vehicles? I mean, we're limited on parking spaces as it is. We're going to be parking on the side of the road during foliage. And you've got that whole open Winnie Park, and not Winnie Park, Wilson Park, where 2 park benches, you can pull off the side of the road.
And it's in walking distance from most of the town. I mean, it's not that far of a walk.
Yeah, and there's much better parking than there is where we can't even park.
I agree with Kim.
Well, think about it. If you're gonna have a handicap facility porta potty, it needs to be someplace where the person that's handicapped can get fairly close to it with a vehicle.
Right.
Which would be down by the park. You pull right on the side of the road and you have it right there on the green. And anybody else is probably going to be a guest of the tavern or the inn, and they're going to use the inn, or they're going to be people that live in houses or guests. I mean, I think that would be a
Hey, Kim.
not an eyesore either. I mean, if we're going to have some weddings or something, you're going to take pictures of the town with a porta potty sitting there.
Hey, Kim, where in the budget are we going to get that money to pay for it?
That's up to you guys. You got to find a line item. There isn't one.
Well, that's why I should ask, is there any way we can get the money from the state or apply for it?
Well, you're talking about $800 probably, because it's 4 more months.
Well, it might be longer too, John. You don't know.
Yeah, might be. But I'm just interested where the money's coming from.
Well, I agree.
Don't we have $5,000 sitting at contingency that came back from the recycling or something like that we haven't used for anything?
The solid waste, that I think that's
definitely solid waste.
I think that's been in a reserve.
Yeah.
But
It's kind of humorous using the solid waste money, isn't it?
I didn't say that's not the same though.
What's better use for it? The thing has been sitting there now for 5 years. We haven't touched it.
Well, no, but that's more for recycling and things like that.
This is recycled.
Can I ask a question on the Winnie Park funds?
Go ahead.
I'll put it on the Winnie Park. Any of those funds go towards that? The porta potty?
Well, it'd be the Wilson Park. There's one already down there. That would have to go through the trustee of public funds, through the Wilson Park, and that we would have to call for a meeting of the 3 of us on the trustee of public funds to decide if we want to spend the money that way.
Consideration.
I thought there was.
I think we have to find the money somewhere. I think we, and I agree with Stan. I think it really is a necessity to have someplace where the public can go to the bathroom when they visit. And I agree with, it should, the Wilson, Winnie Park, whatever, Wilson Park, I think that's probably a good situation. The question is, where's the money gonna come from? I think you can get money from the state and maybe from Wilson Park, and maybe go back to GIA again, you know, maybe they would reconsider. Or at least maybe pay for it up until November or something like that.
I would still, June made the offer. I'd like to see that taken advantage of. If she changes her mind, then I'd like to see Winnie or Wilson Park be the backup.
I agree. I think the store is the best place.
When I go in the office tomorrow, I will check and see what line item. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm not in the office, and then we can always discuss at another time where the funds are going to come from.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
It's
have,
got to be something.
do we have a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Was there a formal motion?
No, because you changed it.
Yeah.
All right, I make a motion that we put a handicap porta potty at MKT on the condition that June is okay with the sign saying it's a public facility. If that does not work, our backup plan is to go to Wilson Park.
I'll second.
Do we have any other further discussion on this, on the porta potty? If not, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed?
No, too much of a liability.
Okay, so we have.
Who said no?
I
John?
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say yes, so it's 4 yeses and 1 no. Okay? All right, so now that I have an agenda,
Look into that tomorrow.
huh?
No, I just wondered if Bill could look into that tomorrow.
Yes, I will.
Okay, so is the next, is the next item town hall maintenance?
Call from Buckwell Joanne.
Somebody needs to, there we go.
I got rid of mine. Is town hall maintenance the next one?
The what?
Town hall maintenance, is that the next item on the agenda?
Hi, this
Yeah.
is Joanne.
Yeah.
Got my Grafton news.
Town hall work.
Letter.
I've got quite a few things.
Okay.
The number one, John and I, we've met there a couple of times for a couple of different things, and we're trying to proceed forward with this thing. But I've got a little bit of a problem with the. We're talking about installing the heat pumps for air conditioning and things like that, and I think it's a great thing to do. The thing is, right now we have 4 bids to do that, and there's 4 bids, all to put in heat pumps in the exact same building, obviously, but these bids range from $20,000 to $60,000. And I personally, and I've looked at every one of them, and for that, you know, if you're going to go strictly at the low dollar bid, it's obvious, but I don't know out of those 4 bids what in fact is the right way to do this. I am not a heat pump expert. I've looked at it, and the low bid that we have for about the $20,000 uses exactly the same condenser for each portion of the building. Most of the other bids, based on the size of the room, one size compressor for one room, another size compressor for another room, maybe even a third size compressor. So I certainly cannot make a recommendation on what company to go with. So what I did, and I don't know if even John's aware of this, I mean, nothing's become of it. I've called Efficiency Vermont to get a third opinion. They could look at the bids and make a decision based on their knowledge of heat pumps and of the building. The other thing we're waiting for, along with that same thing, is the electric service that we have in this building is nowhere near enough to be able to carry the load of 5 or 6 heat pumps that we may eventually use instead of eventually installation. There is only a 100 amp panel in this building. And that's what we have for lights and the computers. Once you start throwing all this AC stuff at that building, there's no way that electric panel is going to carry a load. So we're looking at also getting some sort of upgrading the electrical system. So we haven't been able to get one electrical contractor. John's heading that up, and to an electrical contractor in there to give us an idea of what an upgrade.
Somebody scratching their mic, blowing into their mic, doing something. I can barely hear you, Stan.
So anyway, so there's a lot going on with just that heat pump installation. I've had a contractor in, and we've looked at the finishing up the second floor windows. There's still all those old windows that the Nature Museum put in there when they moved in. And Alan knows that we can't close half of the windows up there.
Right.
And so I've already got a contractor went through and measured those windows. So we're going to get a price on replacing those windows, including those 2 old windows in the stair tower. The other thing we've got going on is vapor barriers in 2 crawl spaces, one underneath Kim's office and the other underneath Bill's office. There are crawl spaces. The one underneath Kim's office actually has a vapor barrier. They must have done when they built it. 84, John. I mean, do you remember when that was done? Somewhere back in when that office was done. The problem that we have in there is that the fiberglass insulation that they put up inside the floor is all falling because of moisture and whatever. So I called a foam insulation company. They're going to come in and give us a price of spraying foam in there. That way we don't have to worry about this fiberglass insulation constantly. And we got a good, decent vapor barrier. So I'm waiting for the price of a vapor barrier. Somebody's already come in and looked at that. And I'm waiting for a site insulation of Vermont insulators to insulate the underneath.
Stan, you're not. Is everybody else hearing Stan? I'm not hearing. I'm hearing about every other word, Stan.
Yeah, here.
He's moving away from his
You're
mic.
moving around your head. You need to hold your head still.
I'm reading too.
Okay, well, then hold it in front of you because we can't hear you.
Okay.
Picket fencing.
Do you want me to do the same thing? You want me to do it all over?
No.
No, we want to know the Kim's office. There's a barrier, but the fiberglass is rotten and so on. And then you have someone who's giving you a bid on that, and then you have.
So because of the fiberglass insulation that is falling in under Bill's office as well as Kim's office, most of that stuff is all hanging down and not providing any kind of insulation at all to the floor. I've called in a Vermont foam insulators. They're right in Chester, and they're going to come up and give us a site visit to determine what that's going to cost to do that. So the idea is before we go in and put all these heat pumps and air conditioning, we really should, make sure that the building is tightened up. But I think the important thing of this whole thing are those 4 bids that we got for the heat pumps and air conditioning, going anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000 to obviously heat and air condition exactly the same building. So there's a huge variation of how this is going to be done. And I cannot give a recommendation. I'll give this to John, but I can't make a recommendation. If you're going to just do it on price, is that the best way to do it? I don't know.
Well,
Stan.
Oh, go ahead, Alan.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How tight did you write the specs for those air conditioning and heat pumps. Is it possible that the $60,000 bid went there, looked at what was in place and said, oh, we're going to have to upgrade the electric panel to increase from 100 watt to 200 watt in order to do this? And that may be part of your difference in cost, is they recognize the electric deficiency.
I would agree with that, but none of these include electric.
Stan, I had last year at the house in 170 in town, I had a pump installed with 2 units, one upstairs, one downstairs, installation and everything else, and it was under $4,500. And but that's just for one compressor with 2 air handling units. So $20,000 for one seems like very, very expensive to me.
Well, there's like 5 units, 5 blowers.
Oh, okay.
This
All right.
also includes upstairs,
Oh,
which basically we've kind of put off for now because we don't even know what we're going to do to upstairs.
is this a company are they consultants?
No, these are installers, sellers, installers.
No, you mentioned, talk about Efficiency Vermont, because I think that's what you need to do.
Are they a consultant?
Yes.
Okay, so
what I wanted to do was get a third party on this thing. Again, John, please chime in on this thing.
Stan, get closer to the microphone because if you do that. Okay, that's better.
I called Efficiency Vermont as a third party to review these heat pump units and installations. This is what they do. They look at proposals, they present proposals, they'll go out and get a contractor if you like. Well, we've already got 4 contractors give us business on it. And I'm, like I said, I'm not prepared to pick a contractor.
Well, why don't we wait and see what they say? I mean, why worry about it? Let's see what kind of recommendations they come up with.
Oh, I agree. I'm just presenting the information that I currently have.
Stan, was one of those estimates from James? And
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Because I can recall last year having quite a conversation with him about, and he was going to have somebody come in and really look at our system.
They
Did he
did.
do that? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them is our current heating contractor, and they're one of those bids.
Okay.
So,
Well,
like I said, there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to get some of this. There's a grant that's out there for historic building preservation. So I'm hopefully to get the windows in on that grant, and maybe the insulation of underneath the building in on that grant, because I don't think that they'll consider heat pumps or air conditioning historic preservation. That's my.
but is there any kind of grants though, Stan, for upgrading the heating system from the state, because that's an energy saver?
Well, that's one of the things Efficiency Vermont will do. But a lot of this is also contingent. We've already missed, I think it was July 31st, there was a significant decrease already in rebates. There was each one of these units had about $150 rebate. That went away the 31st of July. So we're already missed that one. The next change that they think is going to take place is going to be August 31st. So the rebates on these things are going down and down and down.
But I was talking more
rebate was 800.
the state.
I don't know, there was like 3 people talking.
Stan, on them rebates, there was a $800. It started with $400, and it went up to $800 per unit, and we lost $150 off that $800 on each unit.
Yeah,
Why
it
not?
went down to $150, right?
Right. So there's still $650 rebate on each unit.
Okay. Yep.
Well, why don't we wait until see what Energy Vermont or what that the consultant comes back with before, I mean, why have a discussion when we really don't know what we're discussing?
Yep.
Right.
Oh, I agree. I just brought up what's already out there. That's all.
Well, Dan, not to be disrespectful, but we've heard quite a lot from you, but John is also on that committee. I'd like to hear what John has to say about it.
Well, I have been with Stan when we went over this with the different contractors, and I feel the same as Stan right now, but I think if you're going to put in one of those, that we do it in two places. We do it in Bill's office and Kim's office and the lister's office for now. And the electrical that we have will cover that. And then in the future, you're going to have to upgrade the electric to put those other ones in. So, but I'm agreeing with him to look at those bids. I have nothing with that wrong with that low bidder. He's done a lot of them around that I'm aware of, and you know, I think he's all right. But I wouldn't hurt to wait to have them people look at it.
Yeah, that's the discussion. That's a good point. That's the discussion that John and I had. And again, these $20,000 to $60,000 bids is the entire building. It includes the post office. And that's what we originally talked about. But because we're not currently supplying air conditioning to the post office, we do not have to supply air conditioning to the post office. And it's also the second thing for the upstairs unit. The upstairs space, just because it's up on a second floor, it tends to get more heat. You're going to have a bigger body load up there if this thing is ever used. Those units are large. That's going to have to cool that upstairs. So at this point, that $20,000 to $60,000 includes all that. What John is referring to is right now is to put in the units that would condition Kim's office, which would include the lister's space in Bill's office.
Yeah, and that would be like $10,000, a little less.
Yeah, and
it seems to me it makes sense to take care of the area we're using and we have people in and make those people comfortable.
Yes.
And we don't know what's going to happen upstairs. We don't know we're going to get an elevator. We don't know any of that. So how about we just take care of what would make it more comfortable for our employees that are there for now.
I absolutely agree, and I'm sure John does too. I mean, we've talked.
That solves several issues by doing it that approach.
Well, that's the approach we're looking at, Al, right now. But as this third party coming in, we'd just like to hear from them, and then I think we can make a decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Hey, can we move on?
I got one other thing under that. I guess it'd fall under that. We should hire somebody to give a thorough cleaning of the first floor of the town hall. The windows have not been washed in years, and the floors need a good scrubbing. The water cooler that's in there, if you look at it before you press the thing to get a drink, it's green. So, you know, I think it really needs, I know Kim does cleans it some, but it needs a thorough cleaning by somebody.
Well, we have money in the budget. It's a town hall maintenance, so why don't we just, do it?
Well, you should tell Kim maybe to hire somebody, or Kim, are you there?
I'm here. I would certainly appreciate, the bathroom, a great scrubbing, mop, shine up the floor a little bit, and those bugs out on the porch are collecting from the lights. I constantly are going out there with brooms and cleaning up dead bugs. It's just, I can't keep up with it.
You shouldn't have to keep up.
But
You shouldn't have to.
I'll be glad to seek out any recommendations or talk about it or look into it.
Well, Kim, why don't you look into some cleaning services or somebody who does that kind of thing and get it done? I mean, I don't think we need to worry about it. I mean, we have it in the budget, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. John, are you done? Or Stan with the town hall?
Yeah, that was it. Yep.
Okay, so we have the police letter. I don't know how you want to handle that one.
I think that would be, really interesting to post that in the Grafton News. And at the end of that, ask for input from the citizens, and to get back to the select board if they have a particular problem or something to that effect, or something that they think that the state police could be more effective doing. I would just put that whole letter right in the Grafton News and ask for input back to the select.
I think it's a great idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. All right. The next item is the coronavirus, the policy for outdoor events, and I think, Alan, you gave a outline of something.
Well, my thought was, based on a few things that have just recently happened, I think we could streamline things or spell things out so people understand. An example is, some people thought the VSO library, once the library gave approval, that was it. Well, if the select board still needs to approve a composite plan after the library says, yeah, you can use our lawn, then we should set it up so people understand there's steps you have to go through. It's not just the library that would give that particular approval. If the approval was the library, and then we said, well, we want the town health officer to be the person that approves the plans, then that's on the checklist, library, town health officer. If it's going to be the library, then the town health officer, the fire department, the EMS, and when they all say, yep, everything's okay, then the select board's the final hoop that people have to go through, then that's what it should say. But we should have something, and I sent you guys all a outline, it was just handwritten, of some idea of what it might look like. We can clean it up, make it a little nicer, but some idea of, what's the event, what's the date of the event, the times, who's the point of contact, what's their contact information, who's the town's point of contact for it, whether it's going to be health officer, whether it's going to be select board, whatever, and the size of the event, indoors, outdoors, the purpose, just a list of things. And then if there are different situations that need different approvals, say it's a non-profit organization and there's a certain number of people they have to get approval from. If it's a private individual that's having it at their home, maybe there's a different list that needs to be checked off. And if it's a town organization, a different list. So it would allow people to see up front, I need to talk to so-and-so, so-and-so, and so. Here's my sequence. Here's my outline. And it makes it clear. It documents all of it. We have all the information. The event is documented. If we want to say part of the condition is you need to have contact tracing, then that gets built into the plan. But this coronavirus isn't going away tomorrow, and we're going to deal with it for a while. We need to take what just happened, and there was people upset. We need to come up with a better system. So and we don't have to use what I wrote, but I think something like that is needed.
I agree with you, Alan, and if you think back about it, when there was some events, the VSO or when the MKT had an event, this would be a good checklist to make sure that when these events do happen, that the health officer, the EMS, the fire department, the police department, everybody is aware of this thing, and so that we can, that event can take be safety, whether we have the virus or not. This is a good outlet to outline for any event that takes place in town.
I have one question for you. Are you going to have like a minimum type, say, any event over 50 people sort of thing? And are you going to limit it just to the village district area?
That was kind of, I was going to ask, Rich, is this on private land? Is this on public land? Is it on town-owned land? And what's the size? Are you talking about 10 people or 150 people?
Well,
I think it's a great idea, but I just think you're going to be, one of these things that's going to be tough to enforce.
That's why those items are on the list. And if you pay attention, at least my understanding is the numbers have changed. There was a time only 10 people could be together. ACCD writes a new list. Well, okay, we got a different standard we measure. Do we have a different standard if it's a private function, or does any of this apply to a private function? So those are things that need to get built into it, but coming up with a list, and it's going to, things keep changing. So it's going to have to be updated as time goes on. Bill, could you comment? You've been keeping track of all the rules and regulations as much as anybody.
Yeah, I think you start with whether or not it's ACCD compliant and whether it's on private or public property. I think you only want to worry about what's on public property, or it is a public event. For instance, the VSO is a public event on private property, but it's public because there's no limit to the amount of people could go there. That's one of the things the ACCD regs now say you cannot have this whole summer, and that is a concert and that type of thing. Town fairs and stuff like that, where you don't know who's going to be there or how many. If you're having a wedding that is by invitation only, if somebody wants to have 150 people at their house by invitation only, and it's at the private it's on private property, that's fine too, as long as it meets the guidelines for those sizes. But if you are going to have a public event where it could overflow into the village and there is no way to limit the amount of people who are going to come, then yes, you need to have better planning. So you guys, I think the idea in my mind, I really like the form that Al came up with, provided that you then have a good discussion about what are the limits of its application, and I think we can work on that and then come back to the board once we think about all those limits, and you guys think about all those limits, because there's some things you don't want to be involved in controlling, but there's other things that maybe Rich is aware of that he wants to control, even if it's on private property. So that's the type of that's all part of this discussion.
I have a suggestion. Alan, you have started the ball rolling here. Maybe, Bill, if you could kind of like maybe between now and the next meeting, give some thought to this and maybe post some questions that we have to deal with, and then maybe we could take this up again at the next meeting. And Alan, you might want to work with Bill, since you're the one who started this thing, and to get something that makes sense for the town. I think the idea was good, and we just need to go forward with it, I think.
Well, yeah, I can help, but there's we need for people to understand that the rules may not be the same for everyone, and if that's the case, different form for different people, or you check off the needs list is different depending on whether it's a private function or whether it's a nonprofit or municipal or whatever. We just need for people to understand different rules, different things.
Right, but you could have one form that if it doesn't apply, it's not applicable, but, you know,
Right. Right.
because whatever form you do, it's not gonna, it's certainly gonna be different for each event and each individual event and the person giving it. You can't have one form for all, I don't think.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment, please?
Sure.
So first, I want to commend Al and the select board for considering this idea. I think it leads to an integrative strategy about what kind of town we want to be to people coming from away during the COVID times. The suggestion I would like to make is we have a very professional town health officer, and if it would please the select board, I think he'd be a very good person to involve in this discussion.
Well, I agree, but maybe Alan, you started the ball, or maybe with Rich, you guys could meet with Alan, with Bill, or send Bill some information, and then we could kind of, with your input, Bill could do something, and then we could actually discuss at the next board meeting.
That's fine. I thought we were.
Do you have a contact, Rich, that we could, if we create a form, that we send it to, you know, whoever the health officers interact with, or somebody that you know, and say, hey, can you look at this? Do we miss anything? You know?
I would probably call, usually there is a town officer hotline, and either talk to the people from the Department of Health, or I talk to the people from the ACCD, and I think those would be, I think the ACCD would be the department to talk to.
Do you have I mean, we could just take a chance to whoever we talk to, but do you have anybody in particular that you would have had good luck with, or somebody you'd say, I want it to run by Billy Bob at ACCD?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I don't have anybody in particular. Okay. But I will say they have been very helpful every time I have contacted that agency. Okay. And I would even be a bit surprised if they would have some guidance for us also. It would surprise me.
Well, I think that's a great idea, Rich, and maybe Alan and Rich and Bill, you guys could kind of have a little discussion or something, maybe come up with something for the next meeting. Is that possible?
Yeah, I'd like that idea. Yeah. I think sooner rather than later.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. The next item we have is the village park, and we dealt with the park last meeting, but we didn't deal with the proposal for the invasive plants.
Well, that's one thing that needs, but we had a whole plan that we generated, Joe, and we really didn't get any feedback or input from the rest of the board on those items that we addressed. But first off, yes, let's deal with the invasives, but I don't want to stop there.
Well, I thought that we were going to wait till we get the timber assessment, and then we were going to move. Then we would then go into discussing what we want to do, if anything. But I think right now, the question is, if you are going to log, and that's what the board wants to do, then it was clear to me that you need to treat the invasives before you log.
Oh, I agree with that for sure.
So I think that what we need to decide today is, do you want to go forward with the invasives? Even if you don't log, I think the invasives need to be handled. So that would be my feeling. And we do have some money set aside in the fund from the timber sale up at the town garage. So the money is available. And if we do a logging job and we get another 10 or 15,000, whatever it comes out to be, then that goes back into the fund, and you can decide how to use that at a later date.
For the sake of discussion, I would make a motion that we do hire Longview to carry out the proposed work they outlined for us for the price they gave us.
Stagger that.
Okay. Discussion.
How much money is in that, the logging account that we currently have?
I think if I remember correctly, and Kim, if she's still here, I think it's
No.
9,000.
Kim's off, but yeah, somewhere around shy of $10,000. I know.
I think it's 9,000. And the work they gave us was just around a little over 4.
Right.
Yes. I don't have it with me here, but
No, it's around 4,000.
Yeah.
yeah, thereabouts.
4,150.
Yeah. So do we have an agreement that we should then proceed with the invasives, or?
Well, we have a motion in a second.
Right, but I'm asking, do we have any other discussion?
Wait, just 1 second. I have it. I think I have it on the the July 6th or the June 5th meeting.
I think it was the.
Wait a second.
July 17th.
Pardon me?
I thought it was in July 17th.
Here it is. Yeah, it's $4,150.
Right.
And the contract is all we need to do is sign it, if you agree. And
Correct.
and they would, I guess, they would be completed by the 15th of October.
Correct.
And would be approximately 13 acres.
If we have a motion in a second, if we have the vote, I would authorize, next thing I would ask for Bill to sign on behalf of the board.
So do we have any other discussion before we call the question? Okay, so.
I don't know that I had, do I have a second? I don't have a second written down.
Second.
John Gregory seconded. Yep.
Okay,
Alan made it,
I got
John seconded it.
Okay.
So all in favor of going forward with Longview Forest invasive plant management projects, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so.
And who's authorized to
Well,
sign?
the one that says Bill Kearns, and I think that was what Alan said, so that you would sign it.
Okay.
Okay?
So you'll get a hold of Tom, because that email that you saw the email today, Bill, from Tom.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
no, Joe did responded to Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, I told him that we would deal with the meeting today, so somebody needs to tell him what happened. Yeah.
He's ready.
I'll tell him.
He's ready to go to work as soon as we contact him.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right, the next item is the cemetery land with the street.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. Never mind.
Huh?
Never mind.
The street or property, for the cemetery. How do we want to proceed with this? Do we want to have Bill or somebody draw some lot lines and then have a meeting with them, send it to them, and see if they're willing to do this? And then obviously we have to have a public hearing or a vote or whatever, but we need to get their approval if everybody agrees that that's a good site. I look
think
at
one of the things you're going to have to do along with that site is get an easement that I believe is not included on that. There's no way to get to this back piece of property through the.
You have to realize there is nothing in their proposal except that they will do whatever you want to do to get the property from them. You need to discuss it with them what you need. She didn't say go straight down those property lines and that's it. She said we had talked about it before and it was behind the thing. Right. Okay, but so what I think you guys got to decide, what would you like, and then have a discussion with them.
Right, and lay it out and approve the map including with the easement and all the kind of stuff. Once the select board approves all that, then send it over or have a meeting with them to see if they're willing to do that. And so if we're willing to, if everybody likes the site, then somebody has to get the map out and create an easement and set the boundary lines and either have Debo put it on or somebody do it and send it to them and see what they say, yay or nay.
Would it be worthwhile if we just met with her, Beverly, or whoever the people are first, and then walk it and say, okay, we need this space, and then it's from this post to that rock or whatever, so we have a guideline of exactly where we want to be and a level of understanding first before we get Debo involved with it?
Well, I agree with that, Stan, but I think you have to have some kind of a handwritten map so that they could look at and take back to whoever it is when we have our meeting, if that's how you want to proceed. I think there
what I think you need to do for a simple subdivision is go 30 feet east or whatever you want for a right-of-way, draw a straight line from the road to the creek and back up the creek to the road and back down the road. That's all you got to do. And ask them if they're willing to do that.
Right.
That's all.
Right. I wouldn't get Debo involved or anything. I wouldn't get Debo involved until after we have approval by the voters of Grafton.
Yeah.
I would hang some ribbons up that define the area and say, this is what we talked about. Are you okay with that? Then
Right.
people could go look at it if they want, you know.
But we have to give them a sketch on a piece of paper that we can do ourselves so that they understand it. And then if they say yay, then we have to go through the process with the public to approve it. And then you go to Debo and start the subdivision. I agree.
Yeah. So what do we do now?
So the question is, do we want to draw this map and send it to them or create a meeting with them? Is everybody happy with the site?
Can I say one more thing? Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
Saban Jr. lives there. She says you might want to meet with Saban, and he's there all the time.
Okay.
Well, then we can have either the whole board or Stan and I can meet with him, however you want to do it, and see what his initial reaction is. That's fine with me.
Well, Stan and Joe, you started it. Why don't you go talk with Saban and just walk? I mean, the reasonable thing is you're going to have a 30-foot lane on the east side. You're going to go down around on that flat area. You're not going to want steep hillside.
Well, it's not rocket science. You buy a
No,
can of paint on the tree, and this is where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I just put some ribbons up to eliminate the area temporarily.
So if that's okay, Stan, let it Bill, give him some dates, and then Bill can make a meeting with them. I think I'd rather do it next week if we can. And I'll give you some dates to Bill, and you can give them, and if they can meet, then we can go up there and do it.
Yeah.
All right with you?
I'll try to rough up a map. I've been up there a couple of times, so I'll try to rough up a map so we can have something at least to go for.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, good.
Hey, Bill, have you heard from anybody else yet?
No.
I didn't think so.
Has everybody walked it? Or
Yeah.
I have. Yeah. I think it's a great site. Makes a lot of
one of
sense.
the better pieces I've seen so far.
Yeah, and it's right there. We have the old cemetery, so it's just an addition to the old cemetery. It makes a lot of sense, personally. And if they're willing to donate, yeah, it's going to be some expense to clear it, but still, you're going to have anything you're going to buy, you're going to have to do anyway. So, anyway, okay.
Yep.
Tree warden, as far as I know, nobody has volunteered yet.
No. I have people interested, but I'm not going to mention any names till they say yes.
Yep.
It ran in the Grafton News, but I guess so. We still.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll deal with that next meeting. Okay. Other business? Is there any other business that we need to talk about before we adjourn? If not, public. Do we have any public comment? Suzanne, I know you have something to say.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Joe. So I'm addressing my comments to Joe as per our new policy, our current policy. And I do want to raise an issue and a
Which
question
policy you're talking about now?
about the rules of procedure that the select board voted on
Okay.
earlier in the meeting. And I am feeling a little bit self-conscious because I think it's more than a coincidence that that this additional rule number 2 under section B was put into effect after I presented and brought to the select board's attention a spreadsheet on the night of the meeting. And I totally respect the select board's privilege to set such guidelines and rules of procedure for your meetings. And I also acknowledge that we're all trying to figure out how to do virtual meetings versus online or public meetings, in-person meetings. So I have a clarification question. Does a similar rule exist during an in-person meeting for people who wish to bring something before the select board in the form of hard copies that they bring to the meeting? Or is there a rule that states all such material should be submitted to the select board in this kind of time frame that's required for virtual meetings?
Well, I don't know if it's a rule, if it's I'd have to search the policy, but the policy has always been that if a person or individual or an organization wants to have something on the agenda, they have to present it to either the chair, the vice chair, or the town administrator prior to the cutoff, which for most days it's Thursday. That's when Stan and I meet, usually on Wednesday or Thursday morning, and we go over the agenda. And if Bill is not here on Wednesday or something, or he has something to do, we do it a day earlier. But generally, so the rules really are the same.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, I would just like to call your attention to the fact that during the meeting on July 20th, and I actually have the exact time that I made this comment on the recording, the topic that I was going to bring up, I said I was going to make during the public comment period. However, it related to the coronavirus topic, and would the select board like for me to bring it up during the coronavirus topic? If you would like to go back and listen to the recording, that's exactly the question I asked. And I was given permission by the select board to talk about this topic during coronavirus rather than public comment.
That is correct. That is correct. I'm not questioning that.
My question is, if a topic is going to come up during public comment, either in a public meeting, in-person meeting, or in a virtual meeting, does the same rule apply that hard copies of material or screen shared material have to be submitted this far in advance?
Well, again, the board would have to okay this, agree with me, but no business can be conducted in public comment. It's just a public comment, and then if there's something that needs to go on, then it goes on to the next meeting. But not going to act on public comment.
Okay. Yeah. So I would like, as a courtesy, to let you know, this is the kind of topic that is extremely important to me personally. And I just want you to know that I am going to pursue information either from the Secretary of State's office or from VLCT about the kind of protocol that's called for here. But I want to be very transparent that I'm going to do that between now and the next meeting.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Suzanne.
Yes.
I don't think you should take this personal. I think we're all, it's like a lot of things. You got to experience it once till you understand the problems with things. And so I think having somebody put something up on the screen and then the screen gets locked up and you can't move on or you can't see something else, I think the idea is if the information goes to Bill and then he can put it up and it's a more efficient way to do it. If somebody put something up and then they just took over the meeting, you prevent that. So I think it's a response to learning how to do virtual meetings. So I wouldn't take it. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate your saying that, and I hope the tone of my comments was in that vein. I do think this is part of the learning process.
Yeah, Suzanne, and that's the reason why I wanted to adjust it, because I think even though the concept is the same, but things are different in person versus virtual. And what I think after having these meetings now, I realized that we have to have some adjustment to the rules, not from public meeting or anything that's required by law, just as a procedural matter, because things are different in virtual than they are in person. And again, there was no attempt on you or anybody else. Just as I've been sitting here listening to having these meetings for the last couple of months, and I realized that we needed to have a little bit of a change.
Yep. I understand that, and believe me, I respect the prerogative of the select board to set such guidelines for your meetings. I just am trying to seek clarification on this, and learn from it just like everybody else. As you know, I am an active participant in these meetings, and I like to be part of town governance in our participatory democracy. And so that's the only spirit in which I am doing this. I am very supportive of the work of the select board, and I think you understand that. I hope you do.
Okay, appreciate it. Any other public comment? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn? The next select board meeting will be August 17th, and we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Everybody have a good week. Stay safe.